Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Beyond the Sewing Room. I'm Diane. So today I thought I'd have a little sew along with you. I'm making a top. I'm using two patterns, so elements of both. Pretty much the same one for most of the body, but then I'm using the sleeve from one of the patterns. I did mention this in a previous video. So the one I'm wearing today, I really like this, and this is a French terry. So the fabric that I'm going to be working with today is a ponte, but I think it'll still work really well. I'm not doing the same high neck, but I am doing a similar sleeve. So this one, I've made it a little bit more narrow, and I've got the really deep cuff. I'm not doing the cuff as deep, and I'm going to do a little bit of gathering like this, but keep it quite slim, because I have done a fuller version of this, and it can get in the way a little bit with winter coats. So that's just something to think about. So this is the one which I'm working with for the sleeve elements, but like I say, I have changed it and slimmed it down a little bit. Simplicity 8982. I've shared this a couple of times because I've made this one in dress form and I've made it in white, and this one I've also got a print one, that I don't wear as often, mainly because the knit fabric is not sort of natural fibres and I find it a little bit itchy, but I do like it, but yeah, it's a little bit itchy, and these are much softer, the red one and the white one. So the one I'm working with today, the ponte, is really nice and soft as well. But I do want a V-neck on this one that I'm making. So I found that the V on this Mimi G top that is with this pattern, this is a good value pattern because you get the trousers, that long line coat or sleeveless vest, sort of long line vest if you will like it. And then you also get this t-shirt pattern, and I found the t-shirt pattern, although that might be not what you originally look at when you look at this pattern, it's really good. The V sits in just the right place and it always turns out really well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm using the neckline and the V and the front body part of this one, and then the setting shoulder and sleeve elements of the other pattern. So that's what I'm doing. And as I said, I've just slimmed down the sleeve a little bit just to make it a little bit more workable for getting on a winter coat. Just something else that I've changed up a little bit is I've folded up the bottom. So I don't know if I mentioned, but this fabric that I'm using today, we're sort of doing a scrap busting bit because it's a smallish piece that I had left from something else that I did for work, and you can't get the full pieces out of this. So I've just folded both up at the bottom. It is quite a long pattern, so taking off a chunk like that is fine, but all you need to do is just measure it against some other shorter t-shirts that you have and just check that it'll work for you if you're wearing it out or tucking it in. So that's the front and back pieces. And then again with the sleeve band, because I don't want it as long as this one here, so make sure you make your sleeve longer if you're going to do this, I've folded it up by a good chunk in the middle because I want a smaller cuff. So when it's folded, it will still be a little bit deeper than normal, but not as much. I didn't want it quite so dramatic this time. And then the sleeve, you can see it's not that wide this time. I've still brought it out, but I didn't want to make it quite so voluminous. So we've still got enough to gather in, a small amount at the cuff, but not too much. And then this part for the neck always works really well. So this is your neckband for the V. And as you can see at these ends, it's shaped, look, just here. So I've changed to a ballpoint size 80 on this particular fabric. So I have found this works best for me when I work with this. You can also use a jersey needle, but you do need to use a needle that will work well on stretch fabrics. So if you're working with this for the first time, make sure that you change up and have a little play around on a piece of scrap fabric. That's always best. And I've also changed up my overlocker to a similar colour, but you don't need to have an overlocker to work with this. It's pretty good. You can just sew it up and it'll be fine on the inside, or you could use a zigzag stitch. So first of all, you're going to take your back piece and your front piece, place them on top of each other, and we're going to pin them at the shoulders. Once we've done this, we're going to stitch the shoulder seams with a 1.5cm seam allowance. Now, if you find that you lose the right side of the fabric sometimes, I do this all the time on planes, you can pop a pin while you're cutting it out on the right side on these pieces. Once you have the shoulder seam stitched in place, you'll know which is which, but just for this first seam, sometimes I find it helps to do that. So I'm going to stitch my seams both together and then overlock and press it to the back. You can overlock or edge finish them separately and then press it open and flat if you wish. That does make it easier if you're not sure of the fit of something, for then adjusting it if you need to. So just bear that in mind. You'll also want to use either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch on stretch fabrics, just to make sure that you maintain that stretch. And you can play around with it and just test this out, make your stitch length and width different and just see what works best for you. Now we're going to sew down the side seams, again with a 1.5cm seam. You might be able to see here on camera I've got a faint choke mark that I've made on mine. This is because I do like to just double check sometimes, and my other one that I've got that I made that fits me really well, I did take it in just a fraction last time, so I've just placed it on top and just double checked, because all of these patterns, they do vary slightly and you'll find some fit you better than others. And while they fit, sometimes you just want to tweak them a little, and that's what I've done here. Now take your neckband and you're going to place it right sides together like this, and we're going to sew round this V just here with your seam allowance. You might want to trim a bit away just to get rid of some of that excess. Turn it so that it looks like this. You'll find if you give that a press, it'll lie nice and flat, and then that will make that V a bit easier to work with. Once you've done this, you can stay stitch all the way around the outer edge with your stretch stitch, just to make sure you can still pull on it, and that will just keep your two raw edges together. Now you're going to pin your neckband to the right side of your sweater. So look, this centre point here wants to line up with the centre V. It's quite hard to see here, but here is my V at the back, and here is the centre point. So if you put a pin this way, sort of vertically, just to keep that in place, make sure that the markings either side line up here, and also the little spot here near the shoulder. Now I've made mine just ever so slightly shorter, so I've had to move this back a little bit. That's just because I want to make sure I've got enough sort of stretch here. If you make it so that you have to stretch it to it a little bit more, it will make that neckline a little tighter on you, and that's what I wanted. So if you don't want it sagging or gaping, make this part, the neckband, a little shorter, but you will need to adjust the markings if you do that. So you might want to do a mock-up first of all if you plan on making any adjustments. Pull it to it like this, pull and pin in place, and we've lined up the centre back of the band with the centre back neck. You find that by folding it in half and making a little snip or a little marking with chalk. Now once you've done that, stitch it in place. Now you can top stitch around your neckline from the outside. So we catch this seam to the inside by stitching close to the edge, just here from the outside. You can skip this step if you wish, but it does make the neckline lie better. So once it's been stitched from the outside, look, your V will look like this. So fold your sleeve, band right sides together like this. So this long edge, bring your notches together. We're going to stitch that with a 1.5cm seam, and then we're going to turn it through to the right side so that wrong sides are facing, and you'll be folding it on the fold line just here, which is in the centre. So you can press that open, that seam, first of all, if you wish. And this creates your cuff, look. Paste those raw edges together if you like. Now the right sides together, so the seam of your sleeve, make sure that you line up your notches at the side here. Sew a line of gathering stitches around the bottom of your sleeve like this. You can also edge finish it at this point. Now we're going to attach our cuff. So you want to make sure that you've got the right side facing the right side and you're matching the seam of the cuff to the seam of the sleeve just here. So just pop it inside the armhole. Pin that in place just at that point, just there where the seams match. And the marking at the other side wants to match the halfway point, here look, of your sleeve when it's folded, so you may want to mark it with chalk. Bring that together, pin it in place, and now you can pull on those gathering stitches to bring the sleeve to meet the cuff. Even them out. Once you've done that, stitch in place. Now we're going to add our sleeves to our top, so you want to put your top the wrong way around like this and get your sleeves the right way around. And in the back of your top you've got two markings here. You want to make sure that these line up with the markings on your top sleeve. So if we have it the right way, look, we can see we've got two markings. So that one goes inside this side. Pop it in. So we've got right sides facing. The two markings line up just there, and the underarm seam. And at the other side, just one marking, look. And at the shoulder, this marking here on your sleeve at the top. Make sure that your seam is pointing towards the back or pressed open and flat. Then once you've got those in place, you can pull on your sleeve and it fits into the armhole, or you can do some gathering stitches, or rather ease stitches around this curve. Pull on those and it will gently help it go in. But as it's a stretch fabric, I find you don't always need to do that, because as you pull on it, it pulls to the correct place. So we've got these other markings just here, look. So that will ease in nicely without the stitches, but if you find it difficult to set a sleeve in, you may want to do these stitches around the top. Stitch that in place. Now at this point you can press up your hem, so sometimes it's best if you edge finish it first, press it up, and if you stitch it from the top you might find you get a neat finish, but you can do it from the inside if you wish. Hem your top. Here it is finished, so as you can see I didn't do the sleeves as full, but you've still got the same kind of effect. And this time we've got the V-neck. So I think normally I would tuck this in depending on what skirt or trousers I'm wearing. So it just comes to here. So the waistline of my trousers is just here. So you can have it out if you want, but I think I probably will tuck it in. So that's used up another piece of fabric and I'm really happy with the result. Well, I hope that was helpful. It's gone dark. We are in the winter months now, so sometimes when I start something it runs into evening, so sorry about the lighting. I've got a few on, hoping to give the best light I can, but nothing's the same as daylight, is it? So I hope that's useful and it's given you a few ideas for how you can mix up your patterns if you're looking to do something a little bit different. Please let me know in the comments if you've done this or if it's something you like to do with your patterns at home. I love to read your comments, and thank you so much for watching today. Bye for now.